To make playoffs, you need to be in the top 6 teams. Right now, we're tied for 5th with NRG.
When you're only plus or minus 1 game on these teams, it's still up for grabs.
There's a lot of movement still to be had.
NRG having a rough last. They're still in a playoff position.
솔직히 저희가 6등 안으로 못 들 것 같지 않고요. 충분히 할 것 같아요.
Yeah, very good at the roles. I definitely admire the way a lot of Korean players just play their role. But nowadays, League's more team-centric. I think with the right game plan, with the right mentality, I think we can just take any game from anyone right now.
Welcome to Week 8 of the North American LCS. We had some incredible games yesterday, and fans are hyped for another day of Nexus to Nexus League action. Now we're coming to you live from the Battle Arena in Los Angeles, California, to bring you all of the Sunday showdowns. Earlier in the day, Lee Sin was kicking fans into gear, while the crowd brought the energy to cheer up our very own Sad Mummy. And here you can see Cloud9. They're entering the studio for their game today. They'll be going up against Team Impulse. Of course, you see here, they're making their way to the stage just moments ago, looking for a win today as they weren't able to pick up one yesterday. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. I'm James Patterson, and joining me on the analyst desk this afternoon is guest analyst Mark Zimmerman, along with Aiden Zyrene Moon and Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What up?
What up? There it is.
You recovered from yesterday?
Kobe gets the award for most energy at the beginning of the day. We'll see if you guys can step up the game.
He's going to win that all day.
He might. Before we get into our discussion, let's get a refresh of the current standings. Immortals is in first place with Cloud9 and CounterLogic Gaming tied for second. TSM is in fourth with Liquid and Energy Esports following behind in fifth and sixth place, respectively. Echo Fox has risen through the ranks and is one win behind playoff position in seventh. And at the bottom of the league, we have teams Impulse and Dignitas in 8th and 9th, and Renegades in last. But teams still have 3 games left to play in the regular season, so let's see what we have in store today. First up is Cloud9 versus Team Impulse, and later in the day, TSM takes on Renegades. Then Team Dignitas goes up against Immortals, while Echo Fox and CounterLogic Gaming close out the day. Game 2, though, is our match of the week. Energy Esports and Liquid going head-to-head as they battle for playoffs. We'll talk more about that matchup in just a little bit, but right now let's talk about our final game of yesterday's competition, Echo Fox versus Team Dignitas. Kobe's already getting excited for it. Echo Fox played a 60-minute slugfest against the Dignitas squad in a game that resulted in 9 total Dragons, 4 Barons, and an epic backdoor to win the game. Now, tons of fans took to Twitter to share about Echo Fox's victory, including some of the LCS pros, Doublelift and Bjergsen, along with the team owner, Rick Fox, who thought, hey, a whole restaurant would be a more appropriate reward than just dinner. Okay, I wish that I could get a reward like that when I win a game.
The problem is, I'm pretty sure they're going to pick a terrible restaurant. They're going to do like Chipotle or something that I bought for
Is that just what all the pros
I don't mean
will be
terrible. Like, if you could have a restaurant, you'd pick Chipotle.
That's actually dangerous if you
I would pick
bought
like a Michelin star restaurant or something. I don't know.
What would be your choice in cuisine?
I would go with this place called Capo. It's like this ridiculous Italian place.
Here?
In Santa Monica.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll be checking that out.
Yeah, look it up.
Putting that on the list, putting it back here in the brain.
Under new management now, I don't know if
That's true. All right, okay, well, some of you responded at home using the hashtag LCS Big Plays to highlight the big moment, and Not Your Name summed it up nicely. Keith, big and hard through the back door. What a finish. What a game. Here's your LCS Big Play.
He's going for the turret. He's trying to save the game as Big takes up the damage. Keith will be knocking down this turret.
Hit it. Can you get it? You're faster. Go. I can't get it. I'm 10%. Go. I got it.
Not only was that an insane ending to the game and ridiculous just to cast, but that was a season-saving, possibly, game for Echo Fox. You know, they could try and make the playoffs now. And such a heartbreaker for Team Dignitas fans.
Yeah, talk about being in control, literally having a gold lead for the entirety of that game. Even when you lost, you still had a gold lead. That is a tough one to stomach for Dignitas, and as you mentioned, a real momentum boost for Echo Fox, knowing that they're still in the running, one game behind Energy for a playoff spot.
When you have Dragon 5 3 times and multiple Barons, and you can't close the game out, then you really have to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, maybe it wasn't comp. Maybe we need to make more proactive plays and see these windows of opportunity. So Dignitas, they have a lot of work to do.
Not to mention, we had 2 CS records set in the same game. First and second worldwide by Froggy.
I feel like that outer turret lasting an entire hour is also...
We got to go back.
I don't think that'll
We're going to have to send someone back to just scrub all the VODs and make sure. But yeah, a first-tier turret going down at 60 minutes, that's oof.
Yeah.
Congrats to that turret. Anyway, let's talk about the current playoff picture. The top 3 teams have already locked in playoff spots, so there are only 3 more spots up for grabs. Now, 2 teams fighting for those bottom slots are Liquid and Energy Esports, who face off today in our match of the week. So my question to you, gentlemen, is what are these teams going to have to do to come out with a win today? Starting with Energy, Zyrene, since they're coming off that tough loss yesterday, they're the ones looking for the rebound.
Yeah, they definitely need to actually show some teamwork at this point in the season, because we've been waiting for them to mesh for a very long time, and they still look like an individualistic squad. Yesterday, we saw the solo laners pretty much look desperate to try and make plays, and that's what ended up losing them the game, is that they tried to be too proactive without the entire team around them. So that's what I want to see, is them actually coming together as a team, because we haven't seen it the entire season, and I think the squad just needs to up the trust in each other, say they have each other's backs, and get on the same page.
I feel like it's a tough situation to be in for the solo laners because they actually have the largest deficit at 15 minutes average, and they also have the lowest number of first blood. So that's a team that's struggling to do anything in the early game. And when you've been in that spot for so long, you're just, like you said, desperate to do anything to get an advantage. And I think that's something that's going to be very difficult in the TL game with such a strong early game jungler in Dardoch.
Yeah, the desperation definitely showed yesterday in the game when they were tower diving really early on, blowing flashes, and not getting rewards.
Yeah, we saw the GBM TP in, gold card possibly on the wrong target. Immediately following that play, Impact diving solo into 4 people beyond the second tier turret when the first tier turret is still up. Yeah. So looking for those individuals to step up. On the side of Liquid, though, and I'm going to come back to you, Mark, here for Liquid, how do they keep this momentum going? They're on a 3-0 win streak right now. They're looking to continue moving up in the standings. Well, what are you looking for out of them today?
I hope they keep doing the same thing that they've been doing, which is like Lorlo on a tank, hopefully get him on a decent matchup there, and then giving Dardoch something he can do early game. Like Lee Sin has been super good for him, and then letting Phoenix and Piglet kind of carry once Dardoch gets them an advantage, because Phoenix and Piglet are 2 of the best carries in the league, I think.
Yeah. We've been seeing that more and more, as well as teams across the world go to tank top and then a DPS jungler. We're seeing more Kindred. We're seeing Lee Sin come back into favor. So we're seeing these carry junglers, and I think Dardoch is definitely one of the best carry junglers in the LCS right now. So he's definitely up to the task, and that's a great strategy for them. And their shot calling is actually getting better. They're closing out these late game leads that they have, and they aren't stumbling. So they're able to actually get that deeper vision and not just win by team fighting over and over again.
Mark, you mentioned Phoenix being one of the carries for Team Liquid next to Piglet. I want to highlight that mid lane matchup, because we just turned a critical eye to GBM and maybe needing to step up solo play. Kobe, talk to me a little bit about this matchup between GBM and Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, so if we just look at the statistics, Phoenix has been putting up great numbers all season long, and he's really been a workhorse for the team. But GBM, as I said, there's so much pressure on Energy on the solo laners to come up with big plays, and GBM has done that, early in the season. He's got 3 Baron steals just by himself, and so with such a rough early game on Energy, he's trying to create a lot for the team, but it just feels like Phoenix right now has the edge in this matchup, just straight up 1 versus 1. It's up to GBM to really make up for that with some big play in the mid game or late game for the team.
Numbers-wise, on that graphic, we saw a couple discrepancies, a slightly higher KDA for Phoenix and a slightly higher CS at 10 differential for Phoenix. But would you say stylistically, in terms of the way these 2 players play in the mid lane, Mark, will make a difference more so than the actual stats that they're throwing up?
Actually, no. I think they match up very well.
Okay.
And so Phoenix, I have a little bit of a bias. I love Phoenix, and I think he's underrated by a lot of people because they saw the Azir highlights last year, and they're just caught up on those plays versus seeing how he actually plays the game. And he's super lane dominant, and he just wants to crush you in lane. And GBM, very similarly, is a very lane-dominant player, and I think that's where you're going to see a great matchup between the two.
That's the thing with GBM as well, is when he doesn't dominate lane, he actually kind of tilts a little bit, and then he tries to do too much, and he'll actually end up making himself further behind at that point and putting himself into deficit.
The other thing about GBM is he kind of is the center of the team. They build their whole team strategy around him a lot of the time and around his unique picks that he can bring in. So, he really is the mid lane, and he's also kind of the center of the way that they like to play the game.
All righty, well, that's plenty of us for plenty for us. Plenty of us. There's 4 of us today, but that's plenty for us to keep our eyes on in Game 2. But first up is Game 1, so that's enough chatter here at the desk. Let's send it over to the casters to start off the day.
Thanks very much, Dash. We are ready to get our games underway. I am David Freak Turley. Joining me to cast this one is Joshua Jat Leisman. Did you know you are not Kobe?
I did know that. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, well, I finally actually got a caster to switch with me now after the first day, so I finally got that one lining up properly. We're going to get ourselves into the games, though, and starting up with an awesome one. Cloud9 taking on Team Impulse, and it's interesting because C9, they did win yesterday, but it was a struggle for them.
It really was, and we talked yesterday about Cloud9 kind of playing intense and draining games, and they had it again yesterday with a 55-minute one against Renegades, which was expected to be an easier one coming in. We do have to give Cloud9 credit, though. They had a very impressive comeback, but also we need to wonder if these performances will take a toll long-term on Cloud9, and we need to see them play more clean games. But, Cloud9 do also have a great opportunity here. COG lost yesterday, who were ahead of them in the standings for second place. So now Cloud9 are tied with COG, so to speak, and if they win every game from here on out, would be guaranteed a second place finish.
Yeah, we call that being in control of your own destiny. So C9 in a spot for a playoff bye here. I mean, they ended last regular season in 7th place. Now they're tied for second, so it's been a turnaround for them. On the other side of things, though, is Team Impulse. Impulse, the incarnation from last year, was actually like a top 4 team. Of course, they've had a much more difficult time this split with the new roster, and it's continued to be a bit of a struggle. Their loss yesterday did not look good.
Yeah, and obviously we have Cloud9 today, then they have a game against Renegades next week, and Immortals will be their opponent for the final game of the LCS. So those are pretty tough opponents when you look at their whole schedule. And at this point, playoffs are pretty much out of the picture for Team Impulse, so they would like to catch Echo Fox before the end of the season, so they could maybe get into 7th place, but that's still also a long shot. They need to perform here and now, otherwise they need to prepare for that promotion tournament.
They're gonna hope they can get some of these wins coming in here. They're also 0-2 against Echo Fox on the split as well, so they have to +1 that team.
Yep. So they have to win at least 2 games.
They must win at least 2 to get into 7th place or even higher. And we'll see if they can do it. It's going to be rough. But, of course, a way to improve is to emulate your competition if they're really good players. And we're going to hear from Proxen on what he's learned from Cloud9.
기본적으로 클라우드9 선수들 전체적으로 자신감이 되게 넘쳐나요. 팀파이트도 되게 잘하고 뭐 킬이 밀려있고 뭐라든 그냥 서로 막 다 웃으면서 한타 이길 수 있다고 하면서 한타를 되게 잘하니까 한타 부분을 좀 더 집중적으로 연습하거나 아니면 운영을 연습하거나 해야 할 것 같아요.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the big test, honestly. We heard Doublelift talk about Impulse yesterday, actually, saying that, look, their macro level play isn't up to par. It's why they're up so much gold and so many minion kills early on, is, well, that macro just isn't there. It's a lot of really freshman players on Impulse.
Yeah, worst early game team by gold rating and also just overall rating in the LCS. So,
yeah,
got to pick that up.
We'll see if Impulse can pick that up here in this game. We're going to check out the starting lineups for this one. On the blue side is Cloud9. Balls wrecking people in the top lane. Rush in the jungle. Jensen bodying in mid. Sneaky the same AD carry. And High on support.
Yeah, and on the red side, looking to pick up a win here would, of course, be Team Impulse. We got Fang up in the top side. Proxen, who we heard from in the jungle. Pyrian in the mid lane. Mashes the AD carry. Gata support. And Coach Jason.
And we'll see if Impulse can get through that early game. I still think back to their win last week on Saturday. Well, I should say 2 weeks ago. Last week's
Week
games.
7.
Week 7's games. Yep. Thank you, Jat, for clarifying for me. When they beat Energy, right? They beat a playoff team literally 2 games ago because they didn't have a crap early game. And their actual just general rotational play is okay. Yeah, okay, their minion wave management, not great. The landing phase is not always good. But if they get past those hurdles, they're actually able to knock down playoff caliber teams. C9, who have been having early game struggles kind of repeatedly now, maybe there's a world where this lines up and Impulse can sneak that win in. They've always got to keep hope up. They've got to keep the spirits high. You heard Proxen say, C9, when they get behind, they say, well, we can win the next fight. Impulse as a team need to say, well, look, the season is still salvageable and pull something together here in this game. We'll see if they can do it. Their last game of the week, 3 total games left to play in the regular season. So picks and bans get rid of multiple magic damage, essentially mid laners from C9's side, and no Callisto for Sneaky, and will Jin stay up?
Yeah, I'd love to see Jin. It was just insta-banned in Cloud9's first game of the week, but it's obviously available now. First picking it would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of other big power picks you'd want to lock down here. Nidalee is gone, unless Rush really wanted to play Kindred. A lot of times, especially in the LCK, that's been the next tier jungle. But Gragas is way up there from just being able to match clear speed of pretty much anyone and having amazing pick potential.
Absolutely true. Depending on who you ask, it's Nidalee then Gragas. Oftentimes has the 1 and 2 in the jungle pool right there, and with the Nidalee ban, no surprise for a lot of people. Impulse, though, can make their choices. This is still 6.4, so the Riptide nerfs in 6.5 are not in. Nautilus is pretty much the premier top laner right now in League of Legends.
Yeah. Or mid laner.
Or mid laner,
I've
actually.
been seeing so much play in the mid lane, whether it's a full tank in the mid lane, or I've seen some Rod of Ages Abyssal Scepter Nautilus in the mid lane because he has good ratios. Come on, guys, pick Nautilus. It's really good. I don't think the Elise would be a strong pick here.
Yeah, they have no need to pick Elise early on. They're still looking at that plus Janna. Again, it's very surprising. Impulse would rather counterpick an expected Nautilus than get it for themselves. There's no rush on grabbing the Elise because Rush himself is already going to have Gragas.
Yeah, I don't really think Nautilus has that many counter picks.
Yay!
Easy choice here for Cloud9 in all actuality. High's support pool is Alistar and Morg, but his Morg has been super sharp. I think Morgana's also better synergy with Jhin in particular. Land of Dark Binding, it guarantees all of Jin's damage can land. Also, if Sneaky gets into the late game, he'll have a lot of movement speed on crit, and the Black Shield will make it so he doesn't get CC'd during that. Really good synergies just overall for them, and obviously, I think Jhin is super strong for Sneaky, probably the best Jhin we've seen.
So it's going to be fun to watch how he can do on this one. Jin's record, sadly, is 0-2 in the North American LCS. Sneaky himself lost against Immortals on it, and then yesterday we saw Apollo in that slugfest of a game, though he did top his team in damage. Could not close it out as Dignitas lost to Echo Fox. Picks come through for Impulse. Double Marksman coming in here alongside this Janna support. So Mash getting a Sivir, and the Graves is almost definitely going top lane here for Fang.
Yeah.
This is a no-tank team. I want to see what Pyrian goes for at the end of the champ select.
If past performance is any indication, definitely top lane Graves for Fang, even though we have seen sparing play out of mid lane Graves. Nothing too surprising there, but pretty squishy team.
It's worth pointing out, Nautilus actually not picked up at all. C9 doesn't care about the champion. They go back for the Trundle that they played yesterday, I believe, and picking almost the exact same team composition. Instead of a Corki, there is a Jhin. Otherwise, 4 of the 5 same champions here for C9, picking another poke composition into a team with very little engage outside of the Sivir ulti.
And it's even the same matchup in the top lane. Balls was Trundle against Seraph's Graves yesterday in the Renegades game. And he was pretty comfortable in that matchup. He never fell too far behind. And they want the Trundle for the poke composition. Trundle has actually surprisingly been close to core in most of the great poke compositions we've seen, because the pillar, once you max it, is on such a low cooldown. It's tremendous disengage, as well as just very easy to slow people down to land more of your skill shots.
Yep.
So I like the overall team composition from Cloud9. Like you said, super similar to what they did yesterday.
And meanwhile, Impulse looking for a little bit of X Factor now in this lineup. LeBlanc in the mid lane coming through. Is going to be interesting to watch how well that does against Varus. Of course, it's easy to itemize a Hex Drinker on that champion to maybe survive some of the early damage that can come out of Pyrian here, but it's definitely on Impulse to crack this comp open, and it's largely Pyrian to do that.
I really don't like the Team Impulse composition. I feel like Sivir is suited best with a lot of things that enjoy running at you, like tanks and bruisers and such, but they picked a bunch of marksmen and assassins who would have no trouble getting there on their own. So really Mash will be speeding himself up and maybe amplifying the other guys a little bit, but really not enabling anything extra out of these champions. So I honestly feel like if Team Impulse wants to win this, they have to snowball it super early and get leads in almost every lane, which if past performance is an indicator, Team Impulse with the lowest average gold of 15, Cloud9 with the second best average gold of 15 in the LCS is highly unlikely. So not a fan of this draft from Team Impulse.
Totally agree, and you saw that C9 did not go for the poke comp hardcore. The Varus didn't come through until after they had seen, oh, yep, it's Graves top lane. Yep, it's Janna in the support role. It's Elise in the jungle. No engage tools. Great, let's stay back. And good luck, Janna, disengaging a Varus arrow. That's going to be a tough one here for Impulse. C9 might have the champ select victory, but we'll see how it plays out. You guys at home, tweet at Esports with hashtag C9 win or hashtag TIP win for which one is going to be. Cloud9 in control of their destiny to hold on to second place and get the bye at the first round of playoffs. Impulse right now sitting alone at 8th, but they're 1 game away from 9th, 1 game away from 7th. We'll see which way they can move after this one as we get ourselves into the first game of the day.
Yeah, we'll see if Cloud9 can clean up their early game from yesterday, because you said they had some failings lately, but it was against the trend of the year. So much is made of high shot calling and decision making, but what ends up happening is Cloud9 has just been kind of crushing people in the first 50 minutes of the game. Their lanes are incredibly strong. They play with confidence. High makes a lot of early rotations. There is still shot calling in the first 15 minutes of the game as far as team-wide strategy, and normally that has been where Cloud9 has been excelling.
And we'll see if we catch more of the excellence in this game. Then we can pay special attention to where Rush goes, where the team wants to be. Now, we talk about the fact that C9's composition is largely a poke comp, and talking with Sneaky yesterday, he said, yeah, all they had to do was just be safe in the early game and wait till the poke comp comes online. So a successful early game for C9 might just be nothing really happening. Could just be their favor to wait till that one core item comes in, then group mid.
Yeah, Gragas and Elise can both offer some early ganks if they so choose. I'd say Elise's first 3 levels are a little bit stronger than Gragas, but it's arguable. If anything, though, I'm wondering if Cloud9's going to look to get a 2v2 lane with the Jhin and Morgana. If we think back to the first time Sneaky played the Jhin, they got first blooded and then still decided to play the lane aggressively. So they're really going to want to be pushing here. And they have a fight if they want it.
And they've got a bit of a surround onto the Impulse duo lane, who are starting up in the blue buff, and then suddenly High is there, but can Varus lock them out on the backside? There's the spot. Dark Binding will reset the big blue buff, but the small parts of blue will be taken.
Mash gets both. I'm a little perplexed by what just happened. So Fang was up in the top lane anyway.
Oh, wow.
They're doing an early 3v0. Sneaky did not expect Fang to be there. He was going up for the free wave, and instead of just 2v2ing them in the jungle, Team Impulse was like kind of outgained at the very beginning, but they win this trade enormously.
Yeah, 3v2 on that side of the map overall, and yeah, getting some early damage. And honestly, I do think, based on my knowledge of the matchup, this is a better 2-on-2 for Impulse. Jhin has to mess with reloads. Last hitting under turret, this is the worst AD carry for it. Period. I can't think of a worse one than Jhin for trying to last hit under turret here. And Sivir Janna has pushing power in spades. Also, Sivir can hold Spell Shield really easily to block Jin's W. She should never get rooted in this matchup in any way without misplaying here or without a gank from Rush. So I like TIP's 2-on-2 if they can play it right.
Yeah, once again, I'm really surprised that Sneaky and High didn't just follow Mash and Gate into the jungle and at least contest for the level 2 minions on their blue buff. Instead, Rush has gone for another recall. Now Proxen gets an early gank off.
Chain lands. It's still going to root him. Oh, the cleanse dodge, but he's still going to go down. Yes, he will. First blood. Repel the dodge aggro. Perfect dive by Impulse for first blood.
Yeah, and it's so rare we actually see those level 3 ganks work, but because he was able to land the chain, Jensen was a little bit, late on cleansing the chain and flashing out early, but honestly, if Proxen's willing to burn flash all summoners like that and get in on him anyway, once that chain lands, he is in a lot of trouble. Watching this one more time, remember the Varus does have cleanse and flash, so he flashes early, and then he cleansed as soon as the stun was on anyway. It's just the fact that Proxen was willing to take the turret shots, repelled perfectly. If that next turret shot would have hit him, he would have been in danger of dying because of the ramping damage on turrets early. Either way, that's the start Team Impulse needed.
That is a beautiful start for Impulse. We'll see, because they need Hurian to be big. They need him to be able to crack open these champions. Jensen has to recall on just a longsword here. Not even a pink ward to my knowledge, so Corrupting Potion regen is going to be the best he's got. Sitting on his base regeneration and everything else. Gate taking a bit of damage. High can feel happy getting some gold. As the Dancing Grenade goes back and forth, and the duo lanes wave clearing back. Fang wards the Tri-Brush, hopes to stay alive himself. The flash was burned by Proxen, so the gank pressure of that Elise is slightly now lower for these other lanes.
But just looking at the early game overall, so much has gone favorable for Team Impulse. Right off the bat, the invade, the early kill on a Jensen that also burned both summoners, whereas Pyrian didn't have to burn his flash in the mid lane on the Blanc.
Yeah, they should repeat gank that. Distortion into E if that lands. Free Cocoon, free kill. We should be seeing Proxen set up a camp down here.
Yeah, and they also have a pink ward in the left side brush, so with the minion wave shoving up here, if Proxen just paths straight down there, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him.
And no surprise here, but Rush comes over.
He has to be here in case Elise respects
Sweeps
it.
the bottom
Otherwise,
side. Jensen's okay, well, bot's already warded. Let's walk to the top side. Yep, there it is. There's the pink ward. Trinket ward over the wall.
Really dangerous ward clear here, actually.
If he has Rush around, he's still okay. But yeah, here comes the team, and Elise is not far behind. Root onto Jensen. Is the Elise going to be there? Repels onto a minion. Here comes Rush, and he's going to come in for the body slam, but that is the clone. And it's Rush losing a flash for no gain, but here comes the dual lane of C9.
Got him.
Pyrian's caught out. Where's Mash and Gate? They're nowhere to be seen. It's C9 collapsing faster. Corrupting Potion ticking down, and a double kill for Sneaky.
Well, that's exactly what Cloud9 would need to get back in the game. I was surprised that Rush wasn't closer behind Jensen while he was clearing that ward, but really the kicker was the fact that High and Sneaky, in a lane where they shouldn't necessarily have the shove advantage, were able to rotate down there early. That's a macro mistake, so to speak, by Team Impulse for not being able to chase down there and lend the support.
Impulse went for a really, really greedy play. Mash recalled right on refillable potion plus Cole.
Oh, yeah.
And hope, like, all right, okay, now I have the sustain advantage. I'm going to get money on you. But that was what lined up. He was under his turret. A wave C9 had pushed in, and it made that happen.
So obviously we're watching the pink ward go down here. The minions are a bit of a saving grace for Jensen, actually. Otherwise, he could have cocooned him right off the roof from that. So he has to then repel in, and immediately rushes there. Double flash burn right there, so he's not able to kill the clone. But because the chase is there, teleport burn, it's essentially 5-man party in the mid lane. Pyrian and Proxen can't retreat in time. And yeah, Mash as well as Gate are still chilling up there in the top lane. At this point, it's too little too late for Gate. And the double kill going over to Sneaky for an early BF sword. That'll punish the call from Silver pretty hard.
That's going to punish real hard. This does not feel good for the Impulse dual lane anymore. Right now, 1,000 gold lead for C9. And a lot of that is farm, to be completely honest. Normal stuff here on all sides. Warlord's Bloodlust, a great keystone for marksmen that aren't really great with Fervor. And Deathfire Touch on the 2 poke AD carries makes a lot of sense for C9 here.
Yeah. I think I'm favoring Warlord's Bloodlust on the majority of AD carries who aren't like a Jhin or Varus who have amazing synergies with Deathfire Touch. Fervor Battle, I think, is a little bit outdated at this point.
I think it's still good on Hurricane users, so I think Kalista would still run it. Okay. And with Vayne, it's debatable because you're attack speed based, but dueling is important. So.
It's all about how quickly you can max stack the Fervor Battle, rather.
Yeah, yeah, and it tends to work really well with the Hurricane users. Just also, it applies full damage to Hurricane bolts. So, but yeah, definitely a lot of variance there depending on the champion you're playing. Either way, it's C9 feeling really good about this one. And again, I don't think they need to do very much. They can wait and scale up and stack the tier on this Varus. If Jensen's not dying to LeBlanc, he's actually up 20 CS despite getting first blooded.
Yeah, and he actually
happy.
Pyrian's just using his distortion to escape Varus arrows, which is really just going to give the shove advantage constantly to Jensen. And as long as he has his flanks warded, he's going to be feeling pretty safe, especially now that his flash and cleanse are back. So he's completely recovered from that first blood death.
Yeah. Jensen landing, I believe that's now 3 abilities in a row into Pyrian. It won't be a 4th, but you can see how hard of a time this LeBlanc is having against tier boots and a longsword. Like, this should not be this easy, but Jensen gets a little bit of help from Rush and is otherwise just outplaying High! Outlast hits a jungler with an auto attack on Morgana, adding insult to injury.
I just don't know what Proxen was doing there. Just save his spider form, Q, execute. There's no way High should be able to steal it with a Morgana auto attack, but I think he'd used his spells a little bit early, trying to get it down, and he's trying to get revenge.
Flash Cocoon and a hell of a lot of damage. High's got nowhere to go. Great pickup there. It's a kill through for Proxen. He's got all the kills in the team. It's a real pop for the chase. They only get the minion wave, though. Jhin will be safe under the turret for now. And Balls has been trading a bit unfavorably with Fang, but that lane's fine.
Yeah, payback for the Scuttle Crab, I suppose, from Proxen. High getting a little bit, probably a feeling of invulnerability after he was able to steal a Scuttle Crab with an auto attack. Needs to remember that Proxen is still Elise, and he could not black shield the cocoon there.
And that's what's so good about Janna into Jhin, by the way, is a lot of his damage from that 4th shot, because his crits, by the way, only do 1.5x. So you're critting for literally just headshot. Like, that's just the same number at that point as Caitlyn headshot, but then it has missing health damage, which if you're at full all the time because of Janna shields, you're just headshotting people, which is strong but not insane.
Yeah.
And so TIP being able to trade equally, that 2-on-2 should be fine in general. You saw also Sneaky had learned traps because he's a player who does that, unlike Apollo and Reckless. and you Spell Shield doesn't get mana. And so unless you're alongside a punishing support like a Leona or maybe a Braum, they actually get on you and toss a skill shot your way, you just Spell Shield and get mana and kind of ignore what Jhin would do to you.
Yeah, I like as Jhin seeing more and more play, people are really discovering the matchups because he is a uniquely played AD carry in the way he scales with items, damage versus crit trade-offs, all the really complicated math that goes into that.
Yeah. We had a Skype chat the other day talking about item breakpoints, what they give to you. As Sneaky buys more, we'll share some of the numbers.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just smooth sailing for C9.
Well, essentially, if we're going to pay attention to Sneaky's build later, if you're building nothing but BF sword items, your total damage is going to be higher.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start building the Zeal items like Static Shiv and Phantom Dancer, you're trading off a little bit of absolute damage, but you gain a lot of mobility. Because on crits, with higher crit chance, you will gain more move speed afterwards.
Yeah.
And you'll always get the move speed after your fourth shot because it's a guarantee crit. So if anyone had seen one of those sneaky 1v3 triple kills, he had double Zeal items, and he was just kiting massively in between each shot because he was continually critting.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get to that point in this game. It'll be pretty cool.
He will get at least some of them at some point. He is sitting on a longsword right now, which, to my knowledge, he'll sit on for a while. Normally, Infinity Edge is the first major item pickup for Jhin. I haven't really seen Essence Reaver in quite some time, but up to him to make the choices. Team Impulse did take away the top lane Rift Herald there and the Scuttle, so Proxinus continue to get a lot of farm and get a fair number of things done. But what he can do with those 2 kills is going to be important to watch for. Has the Tracker's Knife, so he'll do what he can to get the ward control up. Ooh, good dodge on the chain by Jensen. Actually, it's a lot of damage that would have triggered because of the mimicked Sigil of Malice. Bot lane turret goes down to C9 in the heads-up 2-on-2 because Sneaky getting 2 kills can translate that advantage much more readily than Elise seemed to have been able to with her 2 kills. That meant bottom turret went down.
Yep. The payback for the early recall of MASH, buying the call into the double kill of Sneaky when he was able to roam down bottom lane. And then even though they tried to lane swap back to kind of dodge the lane and then shove, High has control of that Scuttle Crab. So last time he got the Scuttle Crab and then died. And once again, he's kind of getting punished for all the Scuttle Crab.
He got spotted doing it. Another team coming through for High. They break the Black Shield, which means they can come right in. Pops the ulti, will get a 3-man stun. No, gets knocked back, but Gate still takes a stun. And Balls show up and gets that first kill. High getting away, staying alive. Pyrion trades back onto High. And the battle continues with Balls having to flash away. Fang on the chase. One more hit will do it. Gets the kill. The shutdown is nice, but Proxin trades his life as Jensen takes him down. And now Explosive Cast knocks him into the root, into the turret. He ults into turret range himself, and Fang goes down. A double kill for Jensen. All said and done, 3 for 2 to C9.
Yeah, team fight just kind of happens because High was going for the Scuttle Crab. That's the true objective that forces team fights. Not the Dragon, but the Scuttle Crab for a Cloud9 game. But yeah, it was all about the full collapse down bottom lane. High played this pretty well after getting caught out. Notice his Black Shield is popped, but then he's able to sidestep the Cocoon. And then he actually flashes forward, and it pops as Gate channels his ultimate. So Gate doesn't get the heal out from any of that. Balls then flies in, is able to finish off the kill. Fang had used his teleport down. Sneaky's on the side while the Varus is collapsing from the top side. So Team Impulse is actually trying to run away at this point as Rush comes over the wall. Cloud9 was later to the party here, but still ended up with more kills, I think because they out-executed Team Impulse in that team fight. It's the confidence we talk about when we say Cloud9 in team fighting. Great ultimate by Rush at the end, to chain with the Sneaky route. Just
really
good
beautiful
execution.
stuff. Absolutely beautiful stuff. So Sneaky is actually going for the Essence Reaver route. I think it's just because he wants to play more poke-based. The W, especially with Deathfire Touch, does a hell of a lot of poke damage. This will be much less teamfight damage. Crit damage is a great stat on him otherwise, but it's poke.
Sneaky has about 75 solo queue games on that. Oh my god!
Dear Lord, he's already gone. Now Jensen taking plenty of damage, but it's still Proxin in a 1 versus 3 as High shows up, and Proxin realizes maybe I shouldn't have been here. Repels up and will not get the kill, but he will get killed himself. A nice ulti by High. That's going to get picked up there by Rush. 2 kills for Cloud9, and now a root. It's Janna.
How many can he get?
1, 2, 3 misses, and 4 dodged away. Stays up, but no balls. In the top side, picked off Graves.
All right, this game is going to Cloud9's favor a little quickly right there. A lot of beautiful things happen for Cloud9 in that fight. Huge burst damage at the very start for Pyrion, and then the Maw of Malmortius procced, giving him 10% lifesteal and 10% spell vamp, and he's still got a lot of damage down on there. So he pretty much lived because of the lifeline passive from the Maw of Malmortius throughout that crazy engagement. And now we're going to get to see the duel here.
Great
Pillar knocks him back. ults him a little bit late, but it's going to be the ticking damage. Gets the slow on every Q. Doesn't even need to flash. He's got the angle on Fang.
Wow.
And just bites him down under the turret. He already had the level advantage on him right there. Tiamat and the Boots of Swiftness give him the pace to keep up.
I'm honestly a bit surprised that Fang died. He had low enough health for the full 20% lifesteal on the Warlord's Bloodlust and still died in one auto attack. So Ball's great job winning that duel under the turret, even knocking it down afterwards. 8-4 and 3-0 the kill and turret score now. C9 really well ahead. Very smart by Jensen to finish rushing the Malphite Mortius early on. Did not go greedy, survived because of it. Now the engage on to Rush, but he dodges the chains. Will not be held down by this LeBlanc. And runs free.
Just a certain level of confidence that Cloud9 plays with.
Yeah.
You see them putting themselves in situations where they must outplay much more than other teams. So Rush was willing to clear that ward, thinking, okay, if they collapse on me, I will dodge the skill shots. He's able to dodge the chain or dodge a cocoon and escape. And we see that more from Cloud9 than I think we see from any other team in North America.
Yeah, them and Immortals feel like the most heavily like,
we will outplay you.
yeah, we will just outplay you.
They're
You know,
willing
whatever
to take
happens.
a 3v3. They don't. Obviously, they are willing to capitalize on someone walking over ward, but they're also willing to go into more blind situations, like this one, for instance. But I don't think this is one where they want to fight. Seeky's got to watch
Have
out.
to outplay the circle pop.
no.
Black Shield comes in to stop the slow, but here comes Period from around the wings, and that will be Sneaky going down. Wishing he could be a little bit sneakier than he really was in that one, but a nice knockback by Rush. Disengages 3. Period wants back in, dodges a bind, slowed down, flash forced by High. And a 1-for-0. Impulse burning a lot, but getting a kill, which is really big for them.
Good brush camp there by Team Impulse. Sivir thing just to kind of guarantee that Sneaky would not be able to escape. Although that will not salvage this mid lane any little bit. That's now a 51 CS advantage for Jensen in the mid lane. And they're going to be pushing that mid turret pretty hard.
No stun for the backside. This is theoretically a 5v4. Sneaky is nowhere to be seen, but the turret goes down anyway. No one comes to capitalize. And it always surprises me when a team loses a member and then takes a turret because of that fight, essentially.
Exactly. Team Impulse committed 4 people down to the bottom lane, and Cloud9 retreated 2 essentially back up the river. And Cloud9 was actually coming down to stop the eventual chase all the way through. But then at that point, Cloud9 had the angle on the mid lane turret, and Team Impulse was already committed to the bottom side of the map. So all Cloud9 had to do was just push up the mid lane with their full force. And since they're stronger,
of course,
just by gold, there's no way that Team Impulse could have actually stopped that turret from falling.
But what's sad is TFP didn't even trade anything. Dragon didn't go down. Bot lane Outer didn't even go down. There's just so little gain from this team. They got a pick and then got less objectives than Cloud9. That doesn't happen often.
Committing so much to the pick.
I know.
4 for 2, is that worth it? If they could have done it with 3 people, maybe it's a little more, but
yeah.
Pyrian did go down to secure the kill. That almost made sure. Also the fact that instead of Cloud9 running back towards their bottom lane turret, they chose to path towards the river, kind of pathing their retreat away from an objective. A lot of little things go into those not paying off.
Sneaky having to run away. Flash forced. Running back in towards the Elise, getting her out. So to touch on Jin builds real quick, now that he's got Zeal picked up there. Basically, if you do the math on how much attack damage and crit and whatnot is got in, Zeal is basically 175 gold less efficient than it is for other AD carries.
Strictly from a damage
from a damage stat perspective, you get 175 less gold worth of stats after doing all the multiplication and whatnot. However, you get move speed on crit and more crits to trigger move speed. So you are basically buying move speed more so than normal with the Zeal. And that's kind of how that item works out. And it's still not terrible damage-wise. You're just, again, it's not BF swords.
Yeah, and even just from a trend perspective, Sneaky, in most of his solo queue games, will be building an Infinity Edge first into a static Shiv. But with the Essence Reaver, obviously gets much more cooldown reduction. They are doing a poke-based team, so maybe that's why he wants lower cooldowns on his poke. Also, we saw Prey playing Jhin over in the LCK. His build also was Essence Reaver first, so there's still some variance. It's by no means wrong to go Essence Reaver first or wrong to go Infinity Edge first. It's presence and it's based on the state of the game. This game, Sneaky wants more poke and more cooldown reduction, so it's gone Essence Reaver.
Sure thing, and he will be able to set up some picks almost for certain. Moving in for this bot lane, tier 2. Cocoon hits Sneaky. Black Shield comes back on to keep him alive. Couple of crit ricochets clear the wave out and do some damage, but now Prox in the best spot. Great ulti back by Janna. Stops the body slam in its tracks.
Gate puts a tornado in, the burst comes in, and Rush flashes away, but still dies to a little bit of damage coming out of Proxen. 1 for 0 so far, now trying to dodge away. He gets sniped out by Sneaky, who will not quite get Gate, has to flash out of it. But a 1 for 1, a great ulti. The curtain call is just that for the Elise.
Sick aim right there by Sneaky, forcing the flash of Gate to prevent a double kill coming from the curtain call alone. Even though Cloud9 loses Rush in the battle, they still win the war. They take down a turret after a 1 for 1 kill trade, exactly what they wanted.
All right, good stuff here. So 6,000 now the gold lead as Cloud9 continued to balloon ahead off some great plays. Again, a 1 for 1 still means a turret. They trade it better, just doing a much cleaner job of these fights. Blue buff still going to come in as well, quite cleanly. Sneaky can now, I think once he gets to buy, sit on 40% cooldown reduction because of that. And he's going to be happy. Frost Queen's claim already done for high. He can help set up these picks. Any kind of tangential slow means, yes, Jhin ulti will hit, or a barrel will hit into a Jhin W for the root, into everything else landing. There's just so much poke that also sets up for more poke. And it's so difficult to deal with for Impulse. They've been trying to find engages, they're getting occasional picks, but not the team fights they want.
Yeah, at the very start of this team fight, it was actually very good Janna ultimate by Gate to stop the body slam before he could get the stun on the Proxen, which is what ended up kind of doing Rush-in, since then Proxen could return damage, but just the first 2 shots, and then the fact that he landed the 3rd one without having a pre-slow on Gate, forced the flash, since that 4th shot is going to do more damage than the first 3. And it would have been a kill if Gate had not a flash.
Yep, it auto crits for double damage, and curtain call in general deals up the triple based on how much missing health is dealt. So as the bolts come through, they do a lot more afterwards.
Remember when Hai was talking about how he plays support on Cloud9? He's like, well, I know I used to play mid lane, so I know what Jensen wants, and I used to play jungle, so I know what Rush wants on the jungle. But as a guy who used to play jungle, he just wants to kill the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah.
Over and over again, whether or not he's on a support or a jungler. I don't think I've seen more Scuttle Crab focus by a support in quite some time.
Maybe the last Smite Blitzcrank you saw in solo queue, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Which has been a while for me.
One of those Devourer veins in the bottom lane who brings Smite. They'll have Scuttle.
Oh, that's right. I haven't seen that in a while. Actually, speaking of sort of Devourer veins, I mean, Mash did play Kindred earlier on in this season, and hoped he got lucky with Scuttle Crabs as well with that one. They didn't win that game, but it was cool to see. Traps in the brush. Sneaky loses the crit for a blue trinket ward and reloads the clip.
You got it back quick.
Yep, 2 seconds,
Another one.
no matter how high level you are. Which is also the duration of the move speed boost. It lines up pretty perfectly there. High, wow, getting crushed down. Proxen really mad that the Scuttle Crab keeps dying. Trying to pick him off, doesn't quite get the damage down though, and now Elise has to run for dear life. Ultis come in, Rush is doing a ton of damage now. Gate is going to be locked in. That's going to be the crit for Sneaky. That's going to be the kill. Pyrian can't quite do enough. Will not get rooted in place, but Fang answers back. The support finally does die. Still a 1 for 1 so far. Snipes coming through. Clone blocks it. Now looking for a slow on a Fang. Doesn't get much of anything. Looked for the kill on a Pyrian. Could not get it. But again, a 1 for 1 means C9 kills a turret.
Exactly. The fights are always happening on this side of the map, and Cloud9 isn't as wounded as they're running away. The start of it actually wasn't great. High lost 75% of his health to Proxen, but the collapse did come from the rest of Cloud9. Again, they were able to trade kill for kill, and again, they were able to come away with the turret, extending this gold lead.
Cocoon's gonna miss. Proxen really wants to fight, but he's not in the best spot right here. C9 not really ult focused and ult required, and it's gonna be Proxen on the wrong side of this one. Balls pops the ulti himself to get his stats up, and now Fang is just dwarfed in comparison, flashes away to not get stunned up by some more of that damage coming through.
Cloud9 does have to be careful because they are still on tip side of the map, so Gate was able to make it there before High. That's why they backed away, because they were going to be running into a 4v5. But you really get to see how powerful Balls' Trundle is at this stage in the game. Titanic Hydra and Iceborne Gauntlet are his 2 favorite items, and they continue to fight Sneaky though.
Oh, Proxen's low, so is Sneaky, but he's going to get out pretty cleanly. Black Shield on to make sure no tangential damage burns him down. Mash burned his own ulti for that one. Sneaky lost double summoners. I gotta say, that's a probably better trade of resources in Impulse's favor. Sneaky also a pretty important cornerstone of this team. He's carrying 4 kills, more than anyone else on the roster. He's the rich one. And now Gate and High once again doing battle. Stun's gonna land. Time finding.
Him? Like, what is he trying to do here?
He's basically mid lane Morgana. Exhausts them. Chains come through, doing a lot of damage to Balls. The re-engage comes in from Proxen, and yeah,
C9 a bit overstaying, but now the setup delivered on a silver platter.
Kind of. I mean, that was such an aggressive play there by High. Balls ended up dying because he was trying to come in to support him and Pyrion cut him off, but still, it's a 1-for-1, and now Cloud9 has more pressure. They're going to try and push the mid lane.
That's the kind of kill where everyone says, good job Sneaky in chat and High did all the work.
Yeah. Good job, man. Nice
Well
work.
played, Sneaky. Significantly good skill shots.
They get 80% of the turn in the mid lane now. It's another shot from Sneaky, can get it down. The Blanc Burst is now gone, so I think he's going to get it.
They're going to go forward there. Silverty pop after the turret dies. A couple of shots go through. Jensen got cocooned, and the damage comes in. Proxen gets it, but here's the trade damage back onto Fang and Pyrion, who goes in, gets rooted. Again, High doing the work onto the Elise. Rush goes down. That's a 2-for-0. Just kidding. 2-for-1. Jensen says no thank you. We'd like one on the scoreboard. Out goes Impulse.
Still very good cocoon there by Proxen. I don't know where High's Black Shield had been used. That would have been exactly what Sneaky needs at the start of that. They lose it 2-for-1, but once again, they win the objective. We'll watch this one more time. Watching High, trying to find where his Black Shield is being used. Yeah, it just got burned by the ball to Spiderling. So he did have a Black Shield on Sneaky. It just got blown up so quickly. Then the Silverall comes down. Rush almost disengages. And now it's all about Jensen. So they still technically have a marksman to try and return damage with. Just waits for the timer on the down repel.
Perfect play.
Yeah, really slick there by Jensen. The only way Proxen could have outplayed that is by dropping even earlier and then trying to run away, because Jensen would be trying to time it. He had no other targets to repel down to that would stop him from coming straight down on the ground.
He had no choice but to land right where the arrow was going. Mash, I still gotta say, I regret his choice to not go Static Shiv here. They could really use the wave clear, and also, he could just happen to break Black Shield, by the way. That like 200 magic damage crit could just get rid of that buff and really help TIP land some of their combos out there. But Mash, hoping to get a bit more self-sufficient, 1-0-7 is definitely having a decent scoreline for himself. And we'll see if that team can stay afloat. Gold lead 8,000, Dragon number 2 now on the field, so C9 have even better turret killing tools. Infinity Edge now also done, so Sneaky's gonna have just ridiculous amounts of damage now on this champion.
Yep, got his build fully going here. From there, because of the CC that's flying at him, I'm expecting him probably to go QSS next item.
Yeah, that's really likely. He could go Hex Trigger because it's better defensive against the damage of LeBlanc. And speaking of which, forcing the flash, still gets the root onto Jensen, gets the ulti across, and here comes a burst in from Elise. But by the way, 2 people have already been sniped down, and Jensen is somehow still alive. Proxen can't even take him out. A double for Jensen, a 3-for-0, all said and done. But now it's going to be even more. The root lands, Fang with the jump over the wall. Jensen not part of this one. Sneaky and Balls doing it by themselves. 4 kills, only Mash alive. Just gonna hide in the jungle.
That Maw of Malmortius has been so clutch for Jensen. Yes. Obviously he's gonna build it every game against this team, but just the specific timing of proccing Lifeline passive right as he can do enough damage to lifesteal back up has been super awesome. They try and get him. Great ultimate by Rush to delay their collapse onto him. Maw of Malmortius pops. Also, he gets a 240 damage Black Shield
and a Locket shield
over the wall, and a Locket to just fill him up with health. Then you see the dangerous game from all the kills that come through, as well as the Lightning and Spellvamp keep him up. And then Balls and Sneaky just wreck Fang entirely. Yeah. Balls has been the unsung hero of this game for sure. The solo kill he saw where everything else was happening, he's just been absolutely huge, making it so there's no way Fang can split push with Graves.
And this is going to be the middle lane inhibitor under fire with the Baron buff on. C9's got to feel real good about their chances with this push right here. Sivrulty comes in, but immediately the body slam into the knockback, and a gate being the target, but so is Mash running away on Sivert, dodging these snipes as best as possible. Ball still takes him out, and Jensen, the other one, the dual lane of Impulse is gone. And Impulse 3v5. Cloud9 have all the tools they need to close this game out right now. A double-sized minion wave with the Baron buff on. Ball's just delaying the Elise. A bit of wave clear comes out from LeBlanc, but it does not even matter. The chains coming in, trying to get the damage through. Fang will try, and they won't get up. A Proxen will. Finally, a kill comes through. 3 versus 4 now inside the base as Impulse heal up. The Nexus cannot do that same thing, and that will be the game. Sub 30 minutes. Cloud9 staying in control of second place.
Yeah, much cleaner game for Cloud9 than they had yesterday against Renegades. This will secure a 2-0 week for Cloud9, put them at 11-5. They will have Echo Fox and Liquid next week, and they are gunning for that first round bye and second overall seed
Yep.
in the playoffs.
And they are unable to get first. Immortals actually locked that up as of yesterday. That one's not moving around, but second place is definitely a good spot to be. And we'll see how these teams end up shaping up, especially as we start looking into the matchups that may unfold in the playoffs. Seeing who the 6th place team might be as well. Impulse, though, their record depreciating to 5-11. They have to win their last 2 games to have a chance at playoffs, to even theoretically make it a possibility. Even getting 7th would require a minor miracle as well. A 3-way tie would make it okay. And just getting ahead of Echo Fox, but Impulse.
Yeah. It's been a tough road for them. They've now lost 5 of their last 6. And we'll be searching for answers because they have had a small window here. Their first 4 minutes or 5 minutes of the game went quite well, but then they just do not seem to be clicking. We talked in Champ Select. We didn't like their team comp in this game either.
Yeah.
They low tank. They
imagine if that was Nautilus instead of Graves.
Lanes. Yeah,
Or Rammus.
maybe something there could have triggered, but a lot of that game was just Cloud9 forcing very aggressive fights and then just kind of straight out playing them. You can see Cloud9 still pretty happy about that one. Seeker got to play Jhin. Everyone else got to play exactly the same champion they played yesterday. So the comfort stage was there.
Yeah. And it was a 30-kill game in 29 minutes. Both these teams, I think, were very willing to fight. Right, and I mean, you knew that Impulse had to. Like, okay, they've got the Sivir, but they're against the Poke team. Like, you have to go in before they're in position. They had some nice brush baits. They got that first blood in the first 4 minutes. That was solid. Like, there were glimmers of hope here for Impulse. They're not, completely garbage or anything.
Yeah,
they're just
not
having
completely hopeless. They've won 5 games when many people expected them to win fewer.
Right.
There's a lot of things they would have to clean up, and maybe at this point they have to do it in the promotion tournament.
Yeah, and if it wasn't C9 they were facing, like, that game might have been better for them. Impulse, the glimmers are there, but they've got to get it consistent. We'll see. They've got 1 week left of games before the postseason. Maybe it turns around at least a little bit to give them some confidence. That's what they're focusing on here. C9, though, of course, all smiles. 2-0 week. Close or not, it's a sub-30-minute win of the second one. So props to them. And for now, we're going to throw it down to Riv, who's on stage with C9's man in the mid lane.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Jensen of Cloud9 after their win over Impulse. A much cleaner win coming into today. Yesterday, it was a bit messy in the early game. Was that something you guys went back and looked at, or just said, let's not do that again?
We didn't really look at it. I think we all realized our mistakes, and it was just a sloppy early game. But yeah, we learned from it, and we'll just move forward from here.
Moving forward seems like what Cloud9 has done this entire season. Last season there was some hiccups going along. Is there anything you can kind of point out or find that has changed in the team that you feel is kind of the notable reason you're doing better?
I don't know if there's anything specific that I noticed. I think we're just synergizing a lot better now, and we understand each other a lot better, so we just naturally play better together now.
Well, it's definitely showing. Jensen, final question for you before you join the team. I'm sure all the fans are wondering when we can expect to see Body by Jensen in stores.
I'm not really sure about that one. I don't know, but in the near future.
In the near future, you heard it from the man himself. Congratulations on the win. Best of luck to the team in the rest of the season. We're going to throw it to the analyst desk for a little more info on that game.
Thank you very much, Riv. A much quicker win for Cloud9 today. They definitely had a gold lead the entire time, although it was a very brawly game. Before we get into the entirety of it, I want to take a look at that level 1. Something interesting happened in which Cloud9 managed to see Gate and Mash making their way into the jungle for an invade at early levels. But Feng also found himself in the top lane, which is a really interesting situation to see in a blind lane swap level 1. So, Mark, can you kind of illuminate how these level 1s should work?
Right, so tip 1 for a blind lane swap, and when you do that, you almost always want to start your jungler and top laner on the far side from the AD carry. And the reason you do this is because you don't know if you're going to get called or not. And if you do get called, then it's pretty easy for your top laner to walk to the lane he's supposed to be in. When you start on the same side, you need a TP down there. And that's the situation that Tip found themselves in because they were trying to do this like wonky level 1 lane swap thing where they're probably going to go into C9's blue jungle after that, but C9 is calling the lane, so you can't do that.
All right, yeah, so they've got their duo lane there to defend. Feng is now on the top side. Ball's getting a free push in the bot lane. He's forced to TP bottom. And then we saw that TP deficit come into play not too long after in the mid lane.
Yeah, it was that big fight where Jensen got caught and then everybody just showed up mid lane. And because they had balls with the TP and the Trundle pillar, they were able to actually pick up multiple kills there. And that's how C9 got back into the game with the double kill on Sneaky. But going back to the lane swap, The reason that they lane swapped it is because they may not know the matchup of the Jhin Morgana against the Sivir that they had. So when you have that, you need to 5-man, push through, get vision inside of that topside jungle so it's not a blind invade. You have to group as a team and do that. And the reason that we see so many people actually start on the opposite side, like you're saying, is when they get invaded, because it's just like, okay, you're two people are doing like Gromp, right? They get invaded by the AD carry and support. Well, if that happens, then you just walk to the other side of the map. Whereas what happened here, just like you said, is that they have to blow the TP. And that's why we see the lane swaps go that way, is because you want to hold on to that summoner spell. Otherwise, you're in this situation where it's going to be a big problem later on.
All right, a bit of a stumble there for Tip then in the early game. They did pick up that early kill onto Jensen in the mid lane with a good dive. However, not enough as the 2 return kills came in about a minute or 2 later in the mid lane. But that kind of set the tone. That TP in by balls and that double kill for Sneaky kind of set the tone for the game. It was a very brawly game. It wasn't necessarily set up fights around objectives. It wasn't both teams meeting and saying, okay, position for a fight and then go. It was High getting caught out, somebody out of position, a pick being made, but then all 5 members end up in the same area, and it's just these giant 5v5 brawls. And I think that's where we kind of eventually saw the difference between these two teams. We saw that skill gap.
Right. I mean, there was that one that was turned to a 5v5 bot lane. Rush runs all the way from Wolves down to bot lane to meet that fight, and C9 wins it 3 for 2. And it wasn't a setup fight. It wasn't like C9 actually had an advantage. It starts with Morgana getting caught high, but they win it anyways just because they're better players individually and kind of work together as a team fighting team.
Right. On top of being better players, I mean, part of it could be attributed to the fact that these players have been playing together for a very long time. I mean, Jensen, the newest addition, but the rest of them, they've been around playing with each other, so that communication in game is very... Actually, I take that back. Rush and Jensen, newest additions, but the other 3 playing for a very long time. It was very clear that in their communication, they were able to rotate as they needed. They understood the limits of their champions in that brawling capacity. And when the gold fell on the right people like Sneaky, they were able to run away with the game.
Yeah, and I like that they were able to actually get that double kill onto Sneaky, because then he's just able to amount an even bigger gold lead. We saw in the mid lane, we're talking about individual skill here, Jensen, despite getting ganked twice, dying once in the early game, still has a CS advantage. And I just think that C9 is not just the draft, it's not just the individual players, it's everything together, because they're very cohesive in what they're able to do. And when they have those standout moments where a player is excelling, they're able to look at that, say, okay, now Jensen's a big part of this game, let's focus around him, let's back him up, and let's close the game out.
Well, another solid win for Cloud9, keeping them in the running for that first round bye in the playoffs. Stick around, because when we come back, Energy Esports will battle Liquid for a shot at the playoffs in our match of the week. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
I'm a cowboy.
You know, I have never lost as Morgana.
Same.
He lands, it's still gonna root him. Oh, the cleanse dodge, but he's still gonna go down. Yes, he will. First blood. It's C9 collapsing faster. Corrupting potion ticking down, and a double kill for Sneaky. Jensen takes him down, and now explosive cast knocks him into the root, into the turret. He ults into turret range himself, and Fang goes down. A double kill for Jensen. Gets rooted again. High doing the work onto the Elise. Rush goes down. That's a 2 for 0. Just kidding. 2 for 1. Jensen says no, thank you. We'd like 1 on the scoreboard.
We got one. We got one. I'm saving you, Jensen. Careful. Nice. We can do better. Let's go.
And that will be the game. Sub 30 minutes. Cloud9 staying in control of second place.